Well, as always, good morning, good afternoon, or good night, depending on when you're listening to this. This is the Procast. And today we're talking NBA playoffs. And my guest today, joining me today, is Mr. Rabindra. Rabindra, how are you?
I'm doing great. How you doing, Prakash? I'm really happy to be here. I
Um,
appreciate the invite. I'm glad that I get to talk some ball.
Absolutely. That's the only time I'm going to call you Rabindra. I'm going to call you Robbie the rest of the way. Yeah, don't worry. So,
Sure.
like I said, we're talking NBA playoffs. NBA playoffs are starting today. Well, depending on when you're listening to this, we are recording this on Saturday, day one of the NBA playoffs. So, let's get into it. Before we get to the matchups, we wanted to get so you're probably going to ask, well, are we going to break down the play-in? So before we even get into the NBA playoffs and the 16 teams that are going to vie for the championship, why don't we? I want to get your opinion on what are your thoughts on the play-in tournament. So that's the tournament that has the 7-8 plays first, and then 9-10 plays, and then the winner of the 7-8 game automatically becomes a 7 seed, and then the winner of the 9-10 game automatically, well, not automatically, but they have to play the loser of the 7-8 game for the right to be the 8 seed. So just give us your thoughts on what you think about the play-in tournament.
Well, I mean, I do like it. I'm not going to say that I don't like it. I guess there was a lot of skepticism from all sorts of, everyone, fans, and I guess people who actually play in the league and vice versa, everyone all around. But I personally think it's a great system. I do like, I guess, the additional atmosphere that it brings. And I do think it's great. I mean, look at what just happened, right? What just transpired. I mean, essentially, at least one of the teams that wasn't supposed to be there made it, right? Um, no, technically, yeah, because Atlanta just beat Cleveland. I'll be honest, I thought Cleveland was going to make it. I thought Cleveland could easily beat them, especially with the roster that they had compared to Atlanta without like John Collins and certain players. But Ice Trey, right?
Yeah.
But these are things we get to see because of the playing tournament. So I think we have to be happy. I personally think we should be happy to see these things. And in New Orleans too, New Orleans beating out the Clippers, which I also expected essentially without Paul George. I guess these are things can happen where versus, you have these teams in a series without their star players or certain players, right?
Yeah. So did you think that the Paul George loss did that affect the Clippers? Do you think or no?
I mean, the Clippers, I mean, Tyronn Lue's a great coach. I personally think, I'm sure this gets echoed across from sports media and fans everywhere too. But I think you realize too what he does and how he makes adjustments. I mean, they barely lost. Still a really good game. But yeah, it definitely affects them. I mean, Paul George literally just got back and he was playing really well at the, you know, COVID. Like, what can
Yes,
we do about that? But
I know.
essentially, yeah,
Yeah.
it's huge. No, it's huge. They're still their star player. They're spread out. They are a spread out roster. They have like Reggie. Reggie Jackson got obviously provide offense. Marcus Morris, I've seen him as a Nick, and he could just pick it up. They have all these players too, but it does why I'd rather see. I'll be honest. I'd rather see Brandon Ingram and C.J. McCollum in the playoffs.
Okay. And just a little, I guess, a preview to next year's playoffs. I think with Kawhi Leonard coming back, I think the Clippers may be a very dangerous team in the West. But that's next year's playoff, next year's season. We'll
Yeah,
talk about
exactly.
that. Yeah, we'll talk about that next year. But
Indeed.
so the Clippers get eliminated, and the Pelicans get through to the Western Conference playoffs. So we go from the play-in tournament to the playoffs. And let's talk first about. Well, let's be homers. Let's be real. We're both in New York State.
Yeah.
So let's
Or-
talk about the first, the only team representing New York in
Yeah.
these playoffs. We have the Brooklyn Nets. They are the 7 seed in the Eastern Conference, taking on the 2 seed, the Boston Celtics. So my take on this series, I think this was probably the worst first round matchup, I should say, not series. It's going to be a great series, but the worst first round matchup for both teams because I think both teams. I mean, let's be real. Brooklyn's not really a 7 seed. They just had so
Of
much going on.
course.
They just had
Uh,
so much going on during the regular season that they never really, caught fire with. And I think at one point during the season, Brooklyn was actually was the top seed in the East.
no,
They
yeah,
just,
for sure. Yeah, they're definitely right about that.
yeah, and Boston at one point was like a 500 team, and they really caught fire. kind of like in the towards the end of the season to get all the way up to the 2 seed. But I think for me, this matchup is two teams. I think both going up, and it's sad that one of them has to be eliminated in the first round. But let's get into it.
No, it's a great point actually.
Brooklyn's probably got the two best players on the court. Let's be real. I mean,
Yeah,
how if you love or hate Kyrie Irving or not, I don't, how
no,
whatever you feel about
completely,
him,
completely. Yeah.
guy's one of the elite players in the history of the game. And then if you have Kevin Durant, probably probably the second best player in the league. I would go probably Giannis one, Kevin Durant two. LeBron's up there, so don't come at me. What about LeBron? LeBron's in my top five of current players right now. But yeah, Boston. I think both these teams are going in the right direction. The one thing I would say though, the big loss for Boston would be Robert Williams.
Oh yeah,
That's going to be a huge
I'm
loss. So
feeling that too,
yeah,
man. That's literally the basis of how I'm gonna tell you how I pick this series. Go ahead though. Yeah.
yeah, no. So yeah, that's my breakdown here. I think ultimately Brooklyn. I think Kyrie and Kevin Durant are going to step up, and I think they're going to be huge. I can really see this, and you can give me your take on this. This series is going at least 6 games. I think personally, and so get in here. What are your thoughts on this series?
No, I couldn't agree with you more on a lot of takes. I just wanted to let you say it all beforehand.
Yeah,
Let me take it in because, yeah. First things first. I guess I'll try and just make sure I refer back to all that you said. But first thing is, yeah, I don't think this is a. I don't. I mean, I would say it's definitely not a great matchup for Boston, right?
yeah, yeah,
I mean,
mhm,
I wouldn't. I'm not going to say that it's a. Yeah, I guess it's not the best matchup for Brooklyn either. But essentially, I mean, they are a top team in the East, right? You can't not view them as that. What happens is just obviously because of straight up injuries and situation, what you see, and just I guess just kind of looking at it from the paper aspect of it, you're just going to see them at 7. But yes, they are not a 7 team, right? So you just got to look when you have Kyrie Irving, when you have KD, Kyrie Irving especially. I mean, oh my man, like he's arguably probably the best straight up scorer in the game, right? When you watch him, how he can go to the rack and essentially Robert Williams is a huge factor here. So like I couldn't agree with you more there. I think the game or the overall series hinges on him being there. It's not necessarily that Boston is a number 2 seed, yes. And you can say that they are basically how Brooklyn kind of declined, Boston like went up, right? Pretty
yeah,
much.
mhm,
But at the same time, you gotta factor in how Robert Williams, especially against a team like the Nets, how important he'll be. So I mean, I agree also that it's gonna go. It's definitely gonna be a heated series. It should be at least 6 games. I'll be surprised if it ends in some sort of gentleman's sweep in some manner. But at the
yeah.
same time,
Mhm.
if Robert Williams comes back, that could change a lot of things. So I don't even know who to pick here. Like, I'll be honest, I'm not even sure who to pick. Besides the star power, I just have to go. Feel like I just have to go with star power. I feel like Katie's gonna show up. Not that
Yeah,
Tatum is not gonna show up, but I think the difference is gonna be how if Robert Williams plays, then I think Boston has a good chance to potentially win. But then if he doesn't, it's all Nets. That's just how I see it. I don't think
ab-
Ben. Do you think Ben Simmons is going to play? They talk about Ben Simmons is going to play. Do you think Ben Simmons is going to play? Because that would be a factor too. But then, how well do you think he's going to play? Just stepping in against the Celtics.
I think he's definitely going to be like on a some sort of restriction. I don't think he's playing like more than like
Yeah,
20 minutes. Yeah, but
like in a perfect world, the perfect world is the Nets are up 3-1 and then he plays like that game 5 or something. And there's like
yeah,
no pressure or something. You
mhm.
feel me? Like
Yeah,
perfect world though. We don't live in a perfect world, do we?
yeah. I
So yeah,
like.
that
I think he's going to be. We know he's a great defender, and trust me, if he's on the floor, he's not touching that basketball on that's my take. He's not. If
yeah.
when the Nets are on offense,
Yeah, like he shouldn't. I
yeah,
mean, because then they're gonna target him, I think.
yeah,
And especially, I mean, defensively, obviously, he's gonna help. I mean, don't get me wrong. Obviously, like how you mentioned it too. We are from New York. This is technically our home representation. So I definitely don't want Robert Williams to come back. Technically, like I want the Nets to win.
But yeah, but I'm in total agreement with you.
Yeah,
I think Brooklyn wins this series. I think it's going to be a very long series, and why long? I think it's going at least. Nobody's winning this in four.
yeah. No way.
I would
Like,
be
there's no sweep. Yeah,
totally shocked if somebody wins this series in like 4 games. But
yeah.
I'm with you. I'm taking the Brooklyn Nets in this series. I think it's going seven. I think KD and Kyrie are going to step up and in that big moment. And last year, hopefully neither one of them gets injured because that's really the reason they didn't get through the Eastern Conference last year because Harden and Kyrie Irving got injured in that series last year with Milwaukee. So,
Indeed. Yeah,
so I think we're both in agreement here. We're taking Brooklyn in this series. So we move on
for
from
sure.
Brooklyn, Boston, and let's
Mm-hmm.
go down to the top seed. And they just found out who their opponent was going to be last night. Uh,
Yeah.
the so the Miami Heat, the number one seed in the Eastern Conference, taking on the Atlanta Hawks, who will be the eighth seed. And I think two very good teams, but ultimately, I'm not going to make the pick just yet of who I think. But my question to you would be: does Miami really scare you? Like, if you have to go into Miami in a game seven, are you really like, oh man, this is like really a tough place to play? Does Miami
Mm.
give you that fear factor about being a number one seed?
I like Miami. I've always liked Miami. I'll be honest. What was that? 2020? Yeah, it was a pandemic. It was when they
Yeah,
had
yeah, 2020, yeah.
yeah, when they were playing in the bubble. So
Right, right, yeah.
I remember doing like one of those like online NBA.com like playoff brackets, and I picked Miami to go in these. Because I do very much believe in this, like the team, like their whole everything. So I do believe in them as a true number one. I feel like they're very much reflective and they're still a little bit better than what they were then when they were like originally number one. You just got a bunch of teams here in the East, right? I don't think the East is like what it used to be. We got like Giannis, you got like a bunch of really good players and other teams. It's just not easy to always be one, right? But I
Yeah.
definitely see them like as a legit one. So and I'll also be honest too. Like I thought and I said it earlier, obviously, too, the Cavs should have, but they didn't. So I kind of saw the Cavs in this spot.
Mhm.
So with Atlanta in this spot, it's I don't know, it's all matchups. I definitely see them as a favorite, not Miami. I mean, not Atlanta, sorry, as Miami as a favorite here. I think it's an easy still series. But I do see them overall as a legit one. Like I think their defense. Like if you think about their defensive capability when they're fully healthy, I don't think they're missing anyone right now. Are they? Do you know? I
Is
think
the
maybe
only one?
PJ Tucker's the only one that might be
Yeah.
questionable. Right?
Tyler Hero? No, he's
Yeah, no,
back.
Hero's
He's
there.
back. Yeah, yeah, he's back.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, he's there.
I remember.
Butler's there. So you got Kyle Lowry, you
Yeah.
got Butler. I think Oladipo's been playing now, right?
Yes.
So granted he just kind of just came back. You got to think about these defensive pieces. I think Bam Adebayo just entered safety protocol. So if he did, then he's the only other question mark. But other than that, this team is pretty much healthy and fully defensive. You know,
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
the key thing for me, and I think they're built for Giannis.
Oh, I'm absolutely like I'm in on Miami in this series, and if we're saying that Brooklyn and Boston is going seven,
Mm-hmm.
I honestly don't think this goes more than five. Like I think Atlanta maybe gets a game at home, but I think Miami's just that deep off the bench, especially
Yeah.
that. Now we didn't even mention Jimmy Butler.
Oh,
You
yeah. I
know,
mean, yeah. I mean,
yeah,
don't forget about like the shooters, right? I mean,
yeah,
Duncan Robinson hasn't had the year he had last year, but he's still a legit deep threat. And as well as Strauss, like they have Martin that plays defense. There's too much guys on this team as long as they're
yeah,
healthy. Like too
yeah,
many.
yeah. That's why I really don't see this series going more than 5 games, to be
Nah, not at
honest.
all. I'm kind of
Yeah,
hoping they sweep.
yeah.
I lost a parlay, so Atlanta needs to get it. Yeah.
I think I'm just being nice with 5 games, to be honest. Because I
Yeah.
don't want to see sweeps because then one team gets too much rest,
Yeah.
especially if they have to wait. So give them a nice little five. Give Atlanta a game at
Yeah.
home. And let their fans be happy, and then you know I'll go on. But this is totally for me. I'm taking
Mhm.
Miami in 5 games.
You're a true gentleman, Prakash.
Okay. I'm giving that one game to Atlanta at home.
I
Let their
straight got
fan.
to get something, man. I straight
Yeah.
got to get something for his heart. Yeah.
So okay, so who did you make a pick or no?
Yeah.
Okay,
I believe I said, but yeah, I definitely picked Miami just to be
Miami.
clear. But yeah, definitely
Okay.
Miami. I didn't specify on games, but if
Mhm.
I am here, it's definitely. I'll be honest, man. I think it's a sweep. I want Trice Trade to get it. Well, no,
Mhm.
I don't. You know, I'll
No.
take it back. Sorry, I'll go with you on the gentleman sweep.
Okay.
They probably do end up getting one because I know Atlanta does work really hard. They
Yeah.
do as a
Plus,
team. They work really hard.
I don't want to offend any listeners we may have in Atlanta. So
Yeah, I
yeah.
agree. I'll take it back. I'm sorry. I'll definitely. Don't get me wrong. I'm not gonna always go gentleman sweeps. You're gonna
Yeah.
catch a sweep in here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, well, since we want to talk about sweeps, let's talk about a series that could be where there
There we
may be a
go. Here
sweep.
we go.
Let's go Milwaukee and Chicago. Milwaukee is
Yes.
the 3 seed, Chicago Bulls the 6 seed, and I don't like. We're talking about teams that are going in the right direction
Mm,
and a team that's going in the wrong direction. I think this is that matchup.
mm,
I think Milwaukee is definitely headed going to be very tough for them not to come to out of the Eastern Conference, but I'm not going to make that pick just yet. But and Chicago to me, I know they had their moments, but I think they kind of fell off late in the season a little. So, but and then of course you've got the greatest player in the NBA right now. Yeah, I said it.
mm, mm-hmm.
I
Okay.
said
Okay. It's very much arguable. I'm not gonna even say yeah or nay. It's just
yeah.
very much arguable. I agree. Go ahead.
One of the Greek freak, Mister Giannis. And I'm not going to try saying his last name because I always mess it up, but you know who I'm talking about. Giannis, and of course, it's not just Giannis. They've got guys like Chris Middleton. One of my favorite centers of all time, Brooke Lopez, is back,
Mm,
and guys like Drew Holiday. So I really like this Milwaukee team, and then I think you also have to question DeMar DeRozan on offense. Is he going to be enough? To carry the Bulls past Milwaukee this year, and one of the Lonzo Ball. Is he?
yeah,
I don't think he's
he's not
playing this
back.
year.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I
he's
was
not
actually
back. Yeah,
that's what I'm looking at right now. To be
Mm.
honest, like I'm
Yeah,
just checking to see if he is in any way, let's just say even potentially coming back. I mean, because you want to be full strength, but
yeah,
nah, he's done. So it basically, and that's not to, I just want to make sure you're ready for me here because I mean, all I
yeah,
could
yeah.
just
Go,
really say, okay, cool,
go
because
ahead.
just all I just want to say, I would say, I mean, yeah, not having Lonzo Ball is a huge thing. Not being 100%, especially in the playoffs, that's huge, right? You're going up against the previous champions, right? The Chicago did put together a decent squad like for the season, but the way I see it is they just it's that this is definitely a sweep, right? So I
Yeah.
just like how you brought it up. I was
Mhm.
waiting for this one because this one I would see is a
Mm.
total sweep here as well. With Milwaukee, Milwaukee's just too balanced for this team on offense and defense. Whereas Chicago just, I mean, yes, DeMar DeRozan. Even if DeMar DeRozan is dropping 30 and 10 and 10, like I think the Bulls just as a unit can't stop Milwaukee as a unit, like defensively. You
Yeah.
know, there's no
Hmm.
one there. Like there's no one there stopping Giannis. You could try maybe put Patrick Williams, but he's too small for Giannis is just too big and too much of a threat everywhere at this point now. Like imagine when this guy Giannis really starts like pulling threes. Like we see all these guys, he's starting to do better now, but it's just been a slow creep. But
I definitely think his free throw shooting got a lot better this year.
everything, yeah, no,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
the guy has just had. I've always loved him, but man, he's showing a work ethic.
yeah,
Like so, imagine. So I don't know, I'm here. I could say I can only agree with you. There's only so much more I could chime in. Not having Lonzo Ball hurts, but even if they had Lonzo Ball, they'd probably just win a game.
yeah.
If that makes sense.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I mean,
yeah.
I think you're being the nice one on this one. I'm going
Yeah.
4 games in this one. You.
Oh no, yeah, no. I'll still say sweep. I say sweep. I said if they
Oh,
had
okay.
Lonzo Ball, they would have game.
Oh,
This
if
is a
they. Oh, okay.
total sweep. Yeah, it's a total sweep.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like, I
total
mean,
sweep.
we can't even make an argument for the Bulls, to be honest.
Nah,
You know,
it's
if
tough. Like I said, Milwaukee's just too balanced. What else? Like, what else can we say?
I
For
think,
anyone that maybe doesn't pay attention, Nikola Vucevic is their center, and he is not stopping Giannis. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Giannis just That's I mean that I think what we're pretty much trying to say is Giannis is just going to dominate the series
Basically,
in for all 4 games.
over is everywhere on Giannis.
Yes.
Yeah,
So I think we're both taking Milwaukee here. I think that's without. I don't think that there's that much up for debate, to be honest.
pretty much. Nope.
And the final first round series we're going to talk about in the Eastern Conference, that is
Hmm.
the Philadelphia 76ers and the Toronto Raptors. Now, this is an interesting, this to me,
Very,
very interesting series.
very.
I just like you look at Philly, you see okay, they're guys, Joel Embiid, James Harden. One of those guys is going to get the ball in. You know who their super. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that you know who Philly's superstars are. I think Toronto's got a good squad, but it's just a team that where you kind of question like who's getting the ball in a big spot if they need a big shot late in the game. And that's my and the one matchup I'm looking at here that I'm going to look forward to is Joel Embiid versus Pascal Siakam. To me, the two big guys in this matchup here,
Yeah, that's definitely
that
good. That's definitely going to be an interesting one.
to me that's the matchup I'm looking forward to. And as much as being a New Yorker, not really liking the Philly sports teams, um, may have to go and I was actually born in Canada too, so this is even more.
Oh, okay.
This is an
There's
even
so
harder pick
much
for
going
me.
on here for you.
How do I pick against the enemy? But yeah, I don't know. I think Embiid, he is definitely in the consider. He is definitely a top pick for MVP
Oh yeah,
this year. So I wouldn't
has
be
to be
surprised.
has to be
Yeah,
considered. Yeah, no,
yeah.
he has to be.
And then I just wonder. We all know, I think, what the expression "the gorilla in the room" is. The elephant in the room, excuse me.
Mhm.
James Harden.
Yeah.
We've seen him so many times in playoffs. Like I remember, I forget the year, but when he was at Houston, they had a 3-1 lead on the Golden State Warriors and couldn't close him out. So I just question his playoff ability. What happens with him?
Hmm.
That's the only thing. But this is a tough one to pick. So I'll let you pick first because I'm still
Okay.
making a decision
I
here.
kind of. I mean, I don't think I feel like I could have a lot to say.
Yeah.
However, there is one very interesting thing I think a lot of people, I don't think are going to be aware of. So I'm going to make sure I'm going to have people aware of, about this series. Uh, First of all, yeah, I think this is going to be a very competitive series. I think both teams, one thing about basketball in general is just its matchups. Now, they may not have like the biggest guys on the block or down low for Embiid, but they got a couple. And in general, Toronto is a team of like I've noticed. There's just a team of wingspan. They got like 3 or 4 guys that are technically like the same body type, but as well as have incredible wingspan, like Siakam, Barnes, and Anobi. Maybe Siakam being the slightly taller, right?
Yeah.
But they have weapons and a good team to potentially combat Philly here. Uh, One key thing though, and Matisse Thybulle can't play in Toronto because he
He's
is
not back yet.
unvaccinated, right? So I'm not sure if a lot of people know that. So that's kind of huge because he's by far probably their best perimeter defender. Now, maybe even sometimes against power forwards, but he's an overall great defender. And B's a great defender too, and Harden's okay. So he kind of makes up for maybe, let's just say anything that Harden misses. On the defensive end at times, Harden just has good hands. So I know I'm getting deep here, but I'm thinking about all these things because I think this is probably going to be the most competitive. Um, well, besides Brooklyn and Boston, that should be really competitive too. But if Brooklyn has their way, they could technically just go 4-2, right? And I
Yeah.
think this, I
Mhm.
think this is the one series that could really end up like being really competitive, especially without Thibault playing. Because how do you really replace him? Yeah, I mean you have Tobias Harris and some of these other guys, but they're just more for offensive help, right? So you got to think about defense. Like defense is still really important, especially against I don't know. I think a spread out team with Van Fleet and Gary Trent Jr. Pretty much anybody could get a bucket, and they can play that small ball on you. So yeah, Embiid is a great for the taking advantage of them in the paint, but then that small ball just could probably wear him out, right? I'm not sure.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like, so I don't know. This is really hard. Like, this is just to kind of concur with you, but maybe just to add a little more depth here. This is really hard. I think it's a huge thing to not have Thibault. They could rely on Danny Green, but that he's just like an older version of Thibault, and I don't know. Like, it's kind of hard for me. So James Harden, just to even touch back on him, he has to like really show up. He can't be like 50%, 66% James Harden. He has to be like 100% James Harden.
Yeah.
So like that's the thing I have. That's the problem I have, because I've always loved. I've been such a weird fan of James Harden. When James Harden first came in the league, I honestly thought he was going to be a bust. That's just me personally. I didn't know, not a bust, but I just didn't think he was going to be that good. He changed my mind completely. He did that with his play and everything that he did. And like now I see him go from like team to team, and I feel like almost like he gets discouraged quickly. Does that make
Right.
sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Does
Absolutely.
it
Yeah.
look
Yeah.
like that?
Yeah.
It's like that's what it looks like to me. So right now he has a lot more to prove besides just winning the series. He has to show that he really cares to be there. Because if he gets discouraged again, then he just looks like he just cares about strippers and not winning. So I get, if I were to make a pick here, I'm gonna still pick Philly to be safe because they have the MVP candidate on their team. So even if Harden hurts them a bit, I feel like Embiid will save them. But I guess that's just me being safe. So I'm gonna take Philly in 6 games here, just to be safe,
Well,
just to
I'm
sound,
at
you know,
I'm in agreement with Philly. I think
yeah,
Philly does win the series, but
yeah,
I'm gonna go an extra game. I think this goes 7. I think it's gonna be one of those back and forth series. I think.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not even mad at you.
Yeah.
Not even mad at you. That sounds good. Yeah.
I think Toronto. Remember, Toronto was for just a couple weeks ago. Toronto was supposed to be in the play-in tournament,
No,
and
yeah, they picked it up.
they picked. So they are playing a lot better. But I think Embiid is going to be the real. I think James Harden,
He's the
Embiid
X
to me,
factor.
yeah, James Harden's the X factor in this series. If he comes out and has a
Yeah.
big series, along with what Embiid can do,
Mm.
I think Toronto may not have the answers to stop those
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah,
So I'm going to
that's what I'm
take
saying. The star power, like that's what makes it. Like Toronto, oh man, like the Raptors have such a good team. If you ask me, I mean, they could still
yeah,
do a little better, but they do. Like they have like that Detroit Pistons '03 team, kind of, sort of.
yeah,
I'm just saying,
exactly,
like
yeah,
where
yeah,
it's spread.
yeah,
Like you
yeah,
don't have like this ultimate superstar,
right, yeah, yeah.
right? But you got a bunch of guys
Hmm.
that can still do some really good. And Scotty Barnes is only going to get better. You know what I mean? This is his
Yeah,
rookie year, so like,
yeah,
I'm just saying. I mean, no, we're not talking future here, but they don't necessarily have to win now. I don't,
and
yeah.
yeah, they're going to be their management's really well. They've
Always,
yeah, so
always. Nah, I give
yeah,
Toronto hella props. They
yeah,
always
their
Toronto,
front office,
Denver, they hold it down.
yeah, hmm
Yeah.
their front office is really
OKC.
really good.
Can't forget about
So
OKC. Had to throw them in there. OKC.
okay,
Sam Pressey.
okay, so we've touched about the Eastern Conference here. We've made our picks. So let's move on over to the Western Conference and the 2-7 matchup here is where I want to start because I think this is going to be probably it's going to be a very fun. I can't say that enough. Fun series with Memphis and Minnesota. So I was really happy when Minnesota got in there to kind of
Yeah.
meet them because I think these are these two good young teams, and I'm just trying to find the matchups here that I'm really, the big man. We talked about Joel Embiid. So Minnesota has a very good big man in their own in Mister
Mhm.
Cat, Karl Anthony Towns.
Yeah.
So he's I don't think he gets enough credit, like enough press and enough pub. So
Nah, he definitely doesn't.
yeah. So if you want to NBA, if you want to get him some pub, maybe you want to bring him to New York. Uh, Play for some orange and blue, just to
Oh
see
man,
you
so
over
many
there.
people I would love to see in New
Yeah.
York. Who knows? Who knows? Yeah.
but yeah, so I think he to me is a. And let's not forget, Tyronn Lue, the coach of the Clippers.
Yeah.
You know who's won before as a head coach with Cleveland when he had LeBron. So he knows a thing or two about managing, coaching, I should say. Managing is a baseball term. Coaching is these NBA stars, young stars. So I look at this series. I'm just thinking this is gonna be a very fun series, and it's gonna be a lot like the other two seven series in the Eastern Conference with Brooklyn and Boston. I don't think this is going out in 4 or 5 games. This is going to be a nice, fun, deep series, back and forth.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like it's I mean, obviously it all depends. Like it's Ja playing. I'm just gonna make sure here, but I just want to see what's going on with Ja. Memphis, right? Like, oh yeah, Ja is playing.
Yeah,
Oh, okay. I just want to at least make sure because I know that that's gonna definitely be it's gonna make this series issue. Because think about it, like you saw what Pat Beverly just did,
yeah,
or at least
hmm
how he responded on a defensive end. And that's a huge thing I would say for Minnesota. Minnesota's defenses actually went up, obviously from last year to this year. That was one of their biggest improvements. Their team defense, and it's surprising too because I mean you see the addition of Pat Bev, and obviously we all, or at least those who really watch basketball, really pay attention, should know Pat Beverly. That's if anything the one thing he cares about the most, right? And then with Carl Anthony Towns, like he's just an all around center. You don't get a lot of all around, just the same, probably just as good, just as big, and just as much of value, obviously, as like Embiid, like we were just talking about, right?
yeah.
So this is definitely going to be a way better series than most people, I think, initially, like, or most people will initially think, and especially with the emergence of Anthony Edwards. That's
Of course, yeah, yeah.
one person we definitely have to talk about, right? Well, we have the platform to, because we already know what, some of us, at least most of us, already know what Cat does, and Cat is only improving. He's still improving. Like, that's a crazy thing. He's still improving. But this guy Anthony Edwards that they scooped up, which I was hopeful the Knicks could potentially get in a lottery a year before, but womp womp,
hmm
right? this guy, this guy Anthony Edwards is going. He showed his potential really right now, and it's only getting bigger and better. So when you sit down and look, though, one thing that's huge here also is how we talk about Anthony Edwards. We got to talk about in this series. We got to talk about Desmond Bain,
Oh yeah,
because
of course.
Desmond Bane is like at first I'll be honest, I play we play fantasy together. So, I play fantasy basketball, and Desmond Bain was one guy I totally overlooked, especially early in the season. Just because obviously I just saw he was getting minutes. So, most guys when they just get minutes, they're gonna produce, right?
Yeah.
But no, this guy, he changed my mind too, like about him, like this whole year. I just seen how he was playing just throughout the year. He's definitely most improved player. What do you think? Like he should be. Do you see anyone else's, just a quick touch on that? Do you see anyone else's potentially most improved player than Desmond Bain?
Um,
Because I
I
think he
think
has it
yeah,
landslide.
yeah, he definitely has it. I question the one thing I like. To me, this is going to be such a fun series with John Morant, Carlin. You have so many
Yeah, everyone.
young
Always.
budding superstars. I hope the NBA doesn't like hide these games on like NBA TV or something. That
Yeah, that's what they not. Yeah, better no.
yeah, like
This
this
definitely
series.
got to be everywhere. Now,
Yeah,
I would say this is another really competitive series. Like because just looking
yeah.
at again matchups, personnel, like everyone, this is going to be a really, as long as no one gets hurt, right? I'm more just hopeful. It's somebody. I
Like
just don't want no one to get hurt.
I
As
think
long as no
what's
one gets
gonna.
hurt.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. No,
My
no, go ahead.
apologies. Sorry.
No, you're
No.
good. Good.
So what I mean was that like I hope we're not looking for this game. If you don't have NBA TV on your provider, I hope ESPN doesn't take a back seat on this
Yeah, no, they
series.
got to show it. They
Yeah,
better.
this has to be like on ES or TNT, because this. I mean, for like the true basketball fan, if you know the guys on this team and you know that John Morant, Karl Anthony Towns. I know Minnesota and Memphis aren't exactly the biggest media markets, so you're probably going to
Hmm.
want to see. Oh, well, we need to get more Brooklyn and Boston,
Of
because
course.
they have the bigger
No, I hear
markets.
you. I
But
agree. Yeah, I hear what
on
you're saying.
just like talent, on just raw talent that's going to pop on in these series, I think this is going to such a young good talent, and like I could really like I keep saying back and forth series. This is going to be a back and forth
Nah,
series.
this is definitely going to be the epitome of the NBA playoffs. This one series,
Yeah,
like this one, I would say in the West for sure is going to be highly competitive, and especially with just how Memphis plays defense and how both Minnesota plays defense. Me personally, because the matchups, like everything, it's gonna be really good. I
okay,
don't even know who to pick in this series to be honest. I mean, Memphis obviously is the higher seed.
yeah,
Logically, most people's gonna go and pick Memphis, but I'll be honest, like Minnesota has a legit chance here to upset. So
yeah.
I don't know. Who
So
did you
it's a.
pick?
I'm going. I've like seen other predictions, and I say like, oh, this is going to be a 6 game series. This is going for me. It's going 7, and I'm
Yeah,
going
this
to
is my
take.
7. This is
Yeah,
definitely my 7. Like if I'm picking a seven
I'm,
game series, this is it.
I'm going Memphis. Memphis in 7.
I want to be the Wario to your Mario, and I
Oh
want to pick Minnesota. Like I'm just,
no,
I don't know,
this is
but I don't see Ja. Like I'm having a hard time feeling like Ja's gonna let that happen.
yeah.
But
Like I mean, I mean, looking at his draft class now, he was the second pick in his draft class, and just to go back for a minute, would you have taken him number 1 over Zion?
oh, I mean, yeah, hindsight for sure. We got to if we're good. I mean, hindsight we can easily use now, right? For
Yeah,
sure.
of course, yeah.
He's definitely more. I mean, I wanted he's another player I wanted the Knicks to get wop wop, but
Mhm.
it didn't happen. I
Just one
mean,
pick
like,
short, one pick short. He
yeah,
would have
I know. I mean, we
been.
got RJ. It's cool,
Yeah,
right? RJ. I'll be honest. This is
yeah.
another.
Oh yeah, RJ
We're not
Barrett.
even in the
Yeah.
playoffs, but yeah, I'm very happy about RJ. But
Mhm.
let's not go
Yeah.
there. But yeah, yeah, I would definitely do that over. I mean, Zion, I still very much believe in his ability, but as you can see, obviously, like he's just not on the court. This is still very important things,
Yeah.
You invest in a player, even if they're young. Embiid was a different story. You're not always going to get a story like Embiid. Like I don't know if everyone remembers and is aware, but Embiid didn't take the court for like the first like 2 years or something
Yeah.
like that, pretty
Oh
much,
yeah,
right?
the process.
So yeah, it was a process, right? The
Yeah, trust the process,
process.
of
Trust
course.
the
Yeah.
process, right? So
Yeah.
so I would definitely say John Morant is how only has more and more to do and to prove. I feel so. I guess yeah. Nah, I mean, as much as I want to be that guy, and I know that I feel like there's gonna be an upset, but maybe this won't really be it. I don't know. It's hard. I'll go with you. I'll
I,
say Memphis in 7. I'm not saying Minnesota. I'm not gonna be that dumb.
mm.
Yeah,
So okay, so let's see. You pick. We both pick. Excuse me,
Memphis in
Memphis in
7.
7.
Yeah.
Memphis in 7. Okay, so let's slide on over to the top seeded Phoenix Suns, and they're taking on. Speaking of Zion Williamson, he's not going to play,
Nah,
but
he's not.
the New Orleans Pelicans got into the playoffs, winning the 8th seed, and their reward for winning the 8th seed, they get the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah, I know, right?
So yeah, I mean, looking at this series, to me, this is like the redemption tour of the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah, for
For
sure.
them, for those of you who don't remember, Phoenix got off to that 2-0 lead in the NBA Finals last year, and we all thought it was over. And then, well, I thought it was over. And what do you know? They lose the series. So I think this is going to be a redemption year starting off with this series. I don't look at New Orleans like I was being nice and saying, yeah, I think they'll get a game. I think this team will get a game, but I think I don't know. I don't think they're getting, I don't think, excuse me, I don't think New Orleans is getting any games here.
Phoenix is not getting him a chance.
Yeah.
I don't think Phoenix is gonna give him a chance. I mean, I'm happy to see New Orleans. I'm happy to see New Orleans in this spot. I really am because at the end of the day, I personally am just gonna reflect on New Orleans in this series as you got here with CJ McCollum, with Bi and Valanciunas. You don't even have the guy you probably invested the most in yet, right? On the court. That's a really good thing. Like I mean, they're molding and they're getting there. They're technically a playoff team, so that's good. But yes, you're going up against the number 1 seed, the best team in the league right now, which is
Hmm.
I would say well engineered to perfection almost,
And the
and that's a sweep.
record wise, the best team all overall in all of basketball, the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Like, yeah,
they're
best team. So
yes,
yeah, it's
only
you're only going up to
yeah.
for a sweep.
So I think we're both in agreement that Phoenix sweeps this series. So
Have to.
so One question I would ask, just to get a little more in depth on this series,
Yeah.
who's gonna be more important for Phoenix, Booker or Chris Paul?
That's a good question. I guess who would make the most impact here? I would say that it's gonna end up being I would say it ends up being Chris Paul this first series. The main reason
Yeah.
I just say that is I guess I'm just thinking straight matchups and I'm thinking about who's he gonna be matched up against and who he could potentially take advantage of. Um So yeah, I see that. I see it being Chris Paul. Because CJ McCollum is still really good, but he's not like the best defender. If anything, the young guy Jones that they have on New Orleans, he's a really good defender. You could defend perimeter and even some like down low. So I feel like they're probably gonna have him focus on Devin Booker the most. Doesn't mean that even if Devin Booker struggles a bit here and there, that he's not gonna get his, but I think Chris Paul is going to be the most important one of them two in this series. I think the next series and probably every series after Booker is probably going to be a little more important though because I think he's trying to get an MVP.
Okay. Yeah. So we're both in
Yeah,
agreement. This is a four-game sweep, four-game
yeah,
nice short series. So let's move on to that 3-6 matchup now.
mm-hmm.
And we have the return of Golden State. They're now the
Ah,
3 seed, taking
mm-hmm.
on the Denver Nuggets. And I would say this: don't sleep on Denver.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, don't sleep on
definitely not
Denver. Yeah.
sleeping on him. Definitely not. I
Um. So
mean, I don't know if they're gonna win, but I'm not sleeping
yeah.
on them.
W- So one matchup I'm intrigued. Of course, the Joker.
Mm-hmm.
We He's going to have a huge impact on the series. Do you think? What's the matchup here? Is Draymond Green going to stop him? What do you think?
I mean, Draymond Green is really good on the defensive end, right?
Yeah.
Let me make sure I say that part.
Hmm.
The defensive end. He's still good. He's good offensively, obviously, too. He's a good passer. But now, yeah, I personally think Draymond Green's all you really need. Not saying to like completely stop Jokic, but he's definitely what that Golden State team needs. And Golden State is, I think, fully healthy or almost fully healthy at just about the right time, right? Which is the playoffs. So,
Yeah.
like, Jokic, he is clearly another MVP candidate. He's another player that pretty much does everything for his team. He hands down, I would say uh, you know, hands down carries his team, this Denver team, day in, day out. Like, so it's just, I think that Golden State has enough to defend him. Besides even just Draymond, like they have a good like defensive team too with some of the pieces they have to just go around and stop some of the things that he does. So I think this is still going to be a very tough series in terms well, not that tough is like where it would go to 7 games. Maybe it would go to 6. I think Denver could maybe squeeze a couple of games out, but I really, really like Gold. I just really like overall like Golden State in this series, especially with Steph playing, because the only person they're missing is Wiseman. They don't really need Wiseman, so like they have Looney and they have Draymond and they have Kaminga. Man, Kaminga is like really not bad off the bench. Like Kaminga is pretty good. So I think this is not the best matchup for Denver, to be honest. Like they could have
Yeah.
probably matched up with a better team in the first round. If Denver matched up somehow with like Utah or like Dallas, this it would have
Oh
been
yeah.
better.
Of
Like
course. Yeah.
this is where they kind of get screwed. So like I very much believe in Jokic, but Steph is back, and yeah, nah, I don't know. I think this is definitely just to just to be I guess a nice guy. I'm gonna say this is Golden State in 4. Sorry, in 4 in 6.
In
Like
six.
that's how
Yeah.
I see it. Yeah.
Yeah. I total agreement. I think Golden State wins in like 5 or 6 games. To
Yeah.
be honest. Yeah.
Yeah, they could
I.
win 5. I think
Yeah.
Denver could get 1. I think Denver could potentially get 2. I guess I am being a little nice there because like I
Mhm.
said, Golden State as long as they stay healthy, as long as no one just drops, they have, they have Wiggins, like Wiggins plays
Yeah.
defense. Like there's a lot of guys they forget about or some people could forget about. So, you know, like
I'm looking at finally they're gonna get Clay Thompson back for like every single game. He's not gonna. It killed me. It killed me on a fantasy team this year because I
Fantasy,
had him.
yeah,
Yeah,
for
like
sure.
he couldn't play back to backs, and like I was like, oh, are you killing me? You're killing me.
Yeah,
But
I
yeah,
think I
so
think they did the right. I think Steve Kerr did a good job. If it was Steve Kerr, whoever it was specifically that managed the team, so that they're
mhm,
like, because I mean, if you look if you look at their depth chart right now, I think I have it up right here. So let me just make sure. Yeah, everyone is there. The only person that's not there is Wiseman. And what did they say for Wiseman? Because I think he might even play just now. Oh yeah, no, he's not playing just now. But they're obviously been good without Weissman, right? So
yeah. So
like
I mean,
think about the depth they have. They still have Jordan Poole,
oh,
right?
well, he was
Like
that was a pleasant surprise. I picked
huge.
him up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he was
huge.
huge for
Yeah,
you. I know he was huge for you.
hmm
I saw
yeah.
him be huge for you, right? So yeah, so like Jordan Poole, right, is off their bench. Gary Payton the second. Yeah, I'm mentioning their bench right now. Andre
Yeah.
Iguodala, Kuminga, and I guess Otto Porter and Juan Toscano Anderson. They still use him. These guys are really good off the bench. Like, you know what I mean? This
And
time
that's
I'm
that.
talking about their
Yeah,
starters. Yeah, like
and that's the bench. And of course,
yeah.
you talk about their big two because Draymond Green, he's a defensive stud. I really
Yeah,
wouldn't put
super,
him.
super
Yeah,
defensive. You can't. That's one thing people can't forget about him.
mhm,
Like, a lot of people focus on offense when they think about just good players. You can't. Like, you really got to look at both two-way players or guys that
yeah,
really, they're not. No, the numbers aren't there. You just got to watch to see how well they stop players. And Draymond Green is by far one of the best defenders in the league, man.
yeah.
Like,
So we're both in agreement on this one.
yeah.
Denver in about no, excuse me, Golden State in about 5 or 6 games. And okay,
Hmm.
so go to the final first round matchup of the Western Conference, the 4-5 series. And
Yeah.
this one, I was leaning one way heavily towards one way. I was like, oh, well,
Mm. Yeah, me
but
too.
then there was an injury
Uh-huh.
that could be
No,
quite
very, very,
catastrophic for
very
one team.
changes a lot. It changes
Changes the
everything.
yeah, Luka Doncic. So the report I read was that he's not playing game one for Dallas. He's not going to play in game one. And so he had about a week to rest up the injury, so he's not playing game one. Now, to me, this was an easy pick for me. I was going to take Dallas all the way, but with Luca out, I mean, how even if he comes back, is he going to be 100%? To me, that's the big question. And
Hmm?
then you look over at what Utah has, and Donovan Mitchell, another potential Nick target. I hope if he does, we'll say he wants out of Utah. Rudy Gobert, so two all-star players in Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell for the Utah Jazz, and you're Dallas. You don't have your superstar, your all-world superstar player Luka Doncic at 100%. That's really it. Could tilt this series for me. I don't know which way you're going to go yet, but
Nah, very
it's
tilting.
it's really it's tilting. It's very tilting. Yeah,
Super tilting. Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, he's arguably the best player on both those teams, right? So look at
yeah,
it like that in this series. Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. When I first heard about the injury, I was like, wow, because it's just pivotal. That's just the best way to put it in one word. So if Doncic doesn't play game one, then I just assume, and especially with yeah, no, Utah has to win that first game, and that's already an advantage in the series, right? So I don't know, yeah, whether he comes back too, if he is going to be 100%, if he ends up having one of those ailing injuries or something that's nagging, I'm pretty sure Doncic is. I can already see he's like one of those tough players, so he's going to try and play through whatever it is that's going on, right? If possible,
yeah.
but if he's not on the floor, I don't see how Dallas gets the appropriate amount of wins to win this series. So let's just
Mhm.
say if he's even out, like if he ends up being out 2 games and they give up 2 games to the Utah potentially, that's a huge drawback even if he comes back for the rest of the series. Utah still has decent players. They may not be I think the only player they really lost this year was Ingles, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
he lost him to
Another,
injury.
yeah, I
So
lost him to
so
injury.
yeah.
Yeah,
So other than that, like they still pretty much have like their kind of like their core players like Mike Conley, Donovan Mitchell, who you can't forget. Donovan
yeah.
Mitchell is still really good, right? And
Yeah.
getting better. Rudy Gobert is a legit rim protector. So, and
Yeah.
rebounder, right? So, and gives you second chances. So, Utah still has the pieces, I think, to potentially win a series without Doncic, right? So, that's just the key thing here. So I don't
Like
know. It's this one's tough to call because of the injury. It
that.
really
Yeah.
makes
That.
it because without Doncic and all you have on Dallas, they may still be able to play defense, but then Jalen Brunson is probably going to be the guy that's going to be like scoring the most. Who's their next guy up?
Yeah, that's the
So
reason.
like that's what I'm
That's the
saying,
yeah.
right?
That's the problem. Yeah.
Yeah, like who's the next guy up? Think about it. Like let me see. I have to look here. Like that's what I'm saying. If I just kind of just even at a glance look at it, I'm thinking Jalen Brunson is the next guy up. Spencer Dinwiddie, Jalen Brunson, Tim Hardaway Jr. is not playing. He's hurt.
Yeah. He's not playing. Yeah.
And that's another thing too. I totally forgot how long he's been out. Actually, I just remembered that. So essentially, you got to think about where you're going to get your offense from. You might still be able to play defense, but where are you going to get your offense from? So then you're basically telling me you're going to get your offense from Jalen Brunson and Spencer Dinwiddie. I'm sorry,
Like,
I don't.
and
They're not
the thing
winning.
is, like, let's say Utah jumps out to like a 2-0 lead,
Mm-hmm.
and Doncic, forces his way back.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much are like that's key. Like,
And then what if you risk further injury?
yeah, that's
Like
the
what
other
if he
thing.
ends up being like Klay Thompson or KD?
Yeah, so I the Doncic injury, for me, making my pick on this, I was like, oh, Dallas is winning this series probably in six. I thought Luka was going to be the difference. He's going to be the difference. I'll tell you that much right now. But if he can't get on the court, or he's not
Mm-hmm.
100% on the court, and then you injure him, and then you ruin his career basically. So I think
Oh,
Dallas has to play smart here
they
and
do.
say, maybe we don't. If when he has to be, for me, 80%. If he's 80%, I think okay, you let him go back on. But if he's anything less than 80%, I don't know. I know, but
I
I want
agree.
to pick Dallas, but Luca's injury to me is what's keeping me from picking Dallas. So I'm actually going to go Utah here.
Yeah,
So
I think
Utah,
so. Like, I think if
yeah,
this is the easiest upset for me to pick, especially with
yeah.
that injury. Like once I heard that, I feel like if there's going to be one upset in the first year round, I think it's going to technically end up being this one.
All right.
So,
So we've made all of our first round picks.
hmm
So now I'll give you the opportunity to go through your brackets, and you can tell us what the second round matchup looks like for you, and then your Eastern Conference, and then your who comes out of the Eastern Conference.
all right, cool. So yeah, we'll start with the East first. So yeah, based on I guess what I have here, I'll have the Philly and Miami matchup in the next round, and Milwaukee and Brooklyn. And then Milwaukee and Brooklyn, that's got to be the most interesting here because obviously we saw what could have happened last year if KD's foot was probably like what couple inches back, right? I think
Uh,
right, like if he was
yeah,
like
if you,
really legit behind the
yeah,
3 point line,
yeah,
a lot of things could have changed. So I'm gonna talk about that series first and say that I think, especially if like I said, perfect world. We go back to earlier comments. Like there is a perfect world in which Brooklyn takes command of this series, which they can. I really think they have a legit shot of doing that. Like without, like I'm talking about the first series with Boston, where
yeah.
they're up by like 3-1 or something. Then in this perfect world, you can bring Ben Simmons back with less pressure. 'Cause that's what all I've been thinking about is how do you bring Ben Simmons back without too much pressure. Because and then what's better, you bring him back in the first round or the second round? Obviously the first round, right? So if Ben Simmons is playing by the second round, and already with I think the dynamics in which what we saw last year, I think Brooklyn has then now a legit shot to upset Milwaukee in this second round. That's my personal opinion. Um, and just to touch base on the Miami Philly, that's another tough one. And when they do match up, but I think as long as Miami isn't hurt, I think Miami might have the ability to even knock out Philly in the second round, especially if James Harden just show up 100%. But just to kind of touch quickly on that. So then that takes me to a finals matchup of Miami and Brooklyn, Eastern Conference Finals matchup of Miami and Brooklyn, and that I guess I'm gonna have to go with if this goes is transitioning, or transitions is the way I expect with Ben Simmons there, then I think Brooklyn does upset technically Miami, even though Miami's the number one seed. But Brooklyn
Okay.
upsets and ends up going to the finals, right?
So
Because I
Robbie
think
and yeah,
whoever wins that Milwaukee, first things first, just to touch one more time, if whoever wins the
yeah, go ahead.
Milwaukee Brooklyn series is going to the finals. That's how I see
Okay.
it. Yeah. Like Miami's still really good, but I think they're gonna end up coming a little bit short against one of these. Either it would be Giannis or it'd be against KD. That's how I see it in the East.
So Robbie's picking the Brooklyn Nets to come out of the Eastern Conference.
Yeah.
And I would have checked that. I would have to check that. I don't know it off the top of my head, but what's the lowest seed to ever get to an NBA Finals? Probably
Oh
the
no,
Knicks.
the Knicks definitely did it.
Yeah, the
Knicks
Knicks.
were
Sorry, yeah,
8 seed, and
yeah.
Dallas and no, sorry, not Dallas. Dallas got beat by someone else. I think there was another team too, but Knicks definitely. I
Yes.
know the Knicks
I
definitely
remember,
did
yeah,
it.
the Knicks what was that, the 98,
Yeah,
99
don't ask
season?
me that. Hell
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I'll never forget that. Yeah, no, that's when they upset
Yeah, okay,
Miami in the
yeah,
first round. Allen Houston's floater.
yeah. The good old days.
The good old days when the playoff series, which if there's one thing, if I can make a vote somehow, if I can make impact, I really want to see 5 game series first round again.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah, I love
please,
those.
like
I
that. We
love
need.
those. Oh my
We
god.
need that.
Yeah.
If you already have this playing thing going on, then you got a 5 game first round series. Forget about it. This the NBA is gonna be crazy in the playoff time.
And you probably have more upsets.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
one team got hot all of a sudden, like the Knicks did that year.
yeah. No, that's true. They got hot at the right time. They definitely got
Yeah.
hot at the right time. Like that
So
was. I'll never forget that. That was probably that was the last time we had some glory.
I remember that's when the NBA used to be on NBC,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember Bill Walton, his comment, just like he's never seen a more David versus Goliath matchup
Oh yeah,
in the history when he was making his when they were doing like the finals preview.
indeed.
Like I'd never seen a more David versus Goliath matchup in the history of the NBA. But yeah, so my
Naturally
picks
was.
now.
Yeah, no.
So you're picking Brooklyn.
Yep.
My picks, I think we're going to differ here a lot in the
Yeah, that's
second
fine.
round here.
That's
Yeah.
fine. That's
So
the whole fun of it
yeah.
here. Yeah.
So I've got. You said second round would be Philly, Miami, and Milwaukee, Brooklyn. I think this is where Brooklyn runs out of steam against Milwaukee. I think Milwaukee is heading ascending,
Okay.
and I think Brooklyn will be flatlining at this point because they would
Okay.
have come off such a long tough series, and that's part
That
of the
is
reason
true.
as to why such a long tough series against Boston that I think Milwaukee takes them. I think this will be an epic series. I'd give me Milwaukee taking down Brooklyn in like 6 games,
Okay.
and then in the Philly Miami series, I don't know. I don't know if Miami has enough to stop if Joel Embiid is at top level.
He's the guy for
Yeah,
me in every series when I'm thinking about, obviously when Philly's playing, he's the guy for me that I'm really looking at.
yeah.
Like because Embiid is really the obviously Harden's great, but Embiid, oh
I don't.
man,
Yeah. I
yeah.
don't know if Miami has enough to stop him, and then if James Harden is kind of like the number two guy, does Miami have enough to stop him? So that's why I would take. So my Eastern Conference Finals comes out to Philly and Milwaukee,
Okay.
which I think will be a very Giannis, a very big man heavy series. With the two with Giannis and Joel Embiid,
Mm.
but I think Philly gets there. I think Joel Embiid, my pick for the MVP of the season. He's also going to carry this team in the playoffs, and I think James Harden will kind of be like the Robin to his Batman. And I'm going to go with Philadelphia 76ers to come out of the Eastern Conference and represent as the Eastern Conference champions.
Ooh.
Yeah, I got the 76ers coming out of the East.
I saw you. I figured you were gonna pick
Yeah.
Milwaukee when you were talking about Giannis. Well,
Yeah.
okay.
I think I think I know I just like I think Embiid is going to have one of those epic playoff runs. And now that I've said it, watch him get knocked out in the first round. But but
Oh
yeah,
man.
I just think he's going to have one of those epic playoff series in the first round, and he's just going to carry that over and over, and that's going to lessen the pressure on James Harden because James Harden is not going to have to be the man. He's going to be kind of like take like a secondary role. So give me Philly. So you're taking Brooklyn out of the Eastern Conference. I've got Philly.
Yeah, on a
So
whim here. Yeah, definitely.
yeah,
I guess I'll say this is my first time sitting down analyzing it. Just to even touch back on it, like I have a tough time with the two guys that I have up in the Eastern Conference because I really do believe in Miami too. Like I really do believe in their whole system. But I think if Brooklyn, that's the key thing. Like in a perfect world, I guess I'll say in a perfect world, if they get there, if the Brooklyn gets Ben Simmons, just like how you know, I guess, what he could potentially, I guess, bring to the table if he does eventually come back in the playoffs. That's huge. Still huge. He may not have it the first game, but probably have it the second game. You know,
yeah,
that's how I see it. So it makes it tough. But I hear you. I'm happy with your pick. Honestly, I was expecting Milwaukee, so I'm happy to hear it even different
yeah.
from what I expected.
I want to go
Yeah.
Milwaukee, but I think Embiid is just this is going to be such an epic playoff run for him that
East is stacked over here, man. I
yeah,
mean, granted, Chicago's in that 6th seed and Atlanta's in the 8th. Those are the only two teams when I look at this whole bracket on the East. Those are really the only two teams out of these 8 that I don't think have a legit shot to go fairly far. Like even Toronto does.
yeah,
Toronto definitely has a shot to upset.
totally agree.
Yeah. Mm.
So okay, let's move on over to your Western Conference picks now.
Yeah. Yeah. Now let's see. I picked Phoenix and Utah to go into that next round, and then Golden State and Memphis. So I think the Golden State Memphis is going to be the stickiest, ickiest, and therefore most competitive in that second round. Um, that's really going to be a matchup and just a great series to watch personally. Um, it's really hard for me to just on a whim as well pick a winner because I really think Memphis is, as long as they stay in tune, and again maybe Morant doesn't get hurt or no one gets hurt on Golden State, like if these two teams are full strength, it's really hard to go against either. But I guess I'm gonna have to go with what experience might do and help with here in this matchup when they do see each other. So I'm gonna say that Golden State should weigh better in this matchup. I'm just gonna have to say it probably ends up going like 6 games at least. Um, Phoenix should easily take care of whoever they see in the second round too, so I'm not worried. So I just see them. I don't know if it'll end up being a sweep. Maybe Utah might squeeze a game, so I'll just say maybe Utah gets a gentleman's sweep out of it, and they don't feel that bad. But Phoenix should easily go to the Western Conference Finals. So Phoenix and Golden State is gonna be must watch TV even more so. So with that, I don't even I don't even know where to begin on how that matchup could be even even harder to pick. But I think Phoenix has a lot more to prove from, especially from last year. I think they're just feeling a lot from last year, and they really are looking, when they're a fully cohesive team, they look damn near unstoppable. When I watch the Suns on the court. Granted, Golden State has so much firepower, especially when we mentioned Clay earlier. That's a key thing too. I think by then, if Clay's playing, I don't think now that they're in the playoffs, I don't think Clay's gonna be, I don't think that there's gonna be back to backs, right? Either, right? So
Yeah.
if anything, Clay should be playing every game. So we got to think about all that. These are going to be the two most complete teams in the West, in my opinion, in the end, Phoenix and Golden State. So I think I'm gonna just go with Phoenix here because I have a friend, my boy, my boy Yodi. He really loves the Suns, so I want to just root for him. I want to see them get to the finals. So
Mhm.
one more time. So I'm gonna pick the Phoenix Suns to go and hold down their record. Golden State just come up a little bit short this year. So that's my picks. That's gonna be Brooklyn and Phoenix in the finals.
Okay.
Yeah,
So I guess my turn.
yeah,
I'm gonna go Memphis Golden State. I think this is like gonna be Golden State's gonna win, but I think the country's gonna see Memphis and be like, oh, okay, this is a
yeah.
team we
They
have to
like they're
watch.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why Golden State wins this series probably like in 6 or 7, but it's going to be a tough 6 or 7 games.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So give me Golden State in that one, and Phoenix, Utah. Yeah, I'm totally agreeing. Utah maybe wins a game. Maybe if you want to go nice, maybe 2 games. But I'm going Phoenix all the way. And then, of course, we get Phoenix, Golden State out west. And like I said, this is like to me the redemption tour for Phoenix. This is the redemption from what happened last year in the finals. And I
Yeah,
think that Phoenix beats Golden State, and we set up a Phoenix versus Philly NBA Finals. So since I'm already on the Phoenix and Philly, my pick for the NBA Finals to ultimately win their first championship, I just said it right there. Who I'm picking? The Phoenix Suns will
nice.
win their first NBA
Okay, so you picked
championship.
your championship getter. See, I don't even like that's the thing. I'm gonna say I guess yeah, I picked Brooklyn and Phoenix to go, and I'll be honest, I'm looking for Phoenix to get their first championship. Or at least I'm rooting for that. Like
Yeah.
I would love to see that. So I'm not sure if I could predict that though.
Mhm.
Like, but however, one thing that I always keep into consideration, besides them being just a top team, is we cannot forget how much of a top defense they are. So that's why I kind of pick them even over a full strength Golden State, because I feel like they're gonna have the defensive capability to hinder all the things that they do well, right? So
Yeah.
you know what I mean. So then now I think about what they're gonna potentially do against Brooklyn. Um, and I think they can. I think they can. And however, KD's the type of guy where it's really hard to like defend him. Like I think when you really watch him, like and I'm thinking about who on Phoenix, even though they have a great defensive team, like who on Phoenix is going to be the guy to really defend KD in the finals if this is where it goes for me, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know who that is. Like, is it Jay Crowder or I guess Mikhail Bridges, right? Because I'm just that's what it is. But just playoffs and basketball is just matchups, and I feel like if it ends up being Brooklyn and Phoenix, I feel like KD has the utmost matchup advantage. So I'm gonna be the differ here just because we're on this show or this podcast specifically. I'm not gonna we've agreed on many things, but I guess I'm just gonna go. Even though as much as I want to see Phoenix win, I'm gonna say Brooklyn wins. I would say KD
Okay.
gets. I would say KD has the match advantage, even no matter how well they rotate on defense and make adjustments. I think KD has the advantage on matchups here. So I'm gonna say Brooklyn. I'm gonna just be the New York guy and just say Brooklyn wins. Yeah.
No, I was like, I look at the matchup and I say to myself that like I've been touting. I say, oh, Joel Embiid's going to have an epic NBA playoffs. I think Booker's going to do that on the Western Conference side.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the whole way through the Western Conference, and that's another thing too. Because even when I look at, let's just say, even that potential matchup, like I don't really know who's going to be dealing with Booker on the defensive end, but I feel like the Nets have a couple guys, so it's like that's the only thing. But yeah, I agree with you. Like Booker should be the guy for most of the playoffs. Besides that first round where I mentioned with Chris Paul, I think Chris Paul make a difference against New Orleans because he played that team too. Right? I don't. I mean, he
Yeah,
played for him, right?
yeah, play for
But
him. Yeah, yeah.
but yeah, Booker's definitely, man. Booker's really showing out, right? Like, and I only want to and wish to see more of what he could do out here. So I definitely agree with that 100%.
All right, well there you have it, folks.
Yeah,
We both made our NBA picks. Went by so fast. Time
indeed.
flies when you're making picks. Apparently, um, so I'm picking the Phoenix Suns to win the NBA Finals this year, and Robbie's picking the Brooklyn Nets to win the
Yeah,
NBA Finals this year. So let's make an agreement right now. Like when the finals, once we go through all the playoffs, and we're right before the NBA Finals, Robbie and I will hop back on. If you're up for it, of course,
yeah, of
we'll
course,
hop back
definitely.
on and we'll just do like a little run through of like the NBA playoffs and how it went, and just to see how right or wrong. I mean, I picked Phoenix, he picked Brooklyn, but it could end up being like Chicago and Utah or something, a
Yeah,
rematch of
exactly.
like the so of
Yeah.
a that was a finals actually in the '90s, the Utah Jazz and the Chicago Bulls. So
Oh
we could
yeah,
get
of
that.
course. Let's not
We could get
forget.
that. Yeah, we could get that. So we'll we'll hop back on like when the NBA finals are around, and we'll discuss the NBA playoffs overall, what went on, and just see how well we did or how well we did not do, and just to see just to see if you should listen to us or not. See how good we did,
Yeah,
and yeah,
we definitely need to research ourselves.
yeah.
I've learned to make a mixture of picks I want to make and picks that I don't necessarily want to make because I realize I'm not always right. So I gotta like switch it up and add things. You
Well,
can't always. It's hard, man. It's hard out here
yeah.
making picks.
The one thing we can say about the East, like, and you said it perfectly.
Mm.
Anybody can really come out of that Eastern Conference, with the exception of
Yeah.
maybe Atlanta.
Or
That would be
Chicago.
like that would totally that would those two teams would totally shock me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, don't get me wrong. Chicago has some good players. It's just I just don't defensively. They just can't. Like I don't see it happening. So
yeah. And out west, yeah, total agreement with that. Like I like there's six possible teams in the Eastern Conference that would not shock me
Mm-hmm.
if they got to the NBA Finals.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in the West, though, you have a lot of there are good players, but I'm looking at Phoenix, who is the best team in all of the NBA, right, with
Mm-hmm.
the record wise, and Golden State is going to be there again. They're going to be so.
Yeah,
Any two
they got
teams
to.
outside of Golden State and Phoenix for me in the West, I would be shocked. I would be totally shocked, to be honest.
I won't be too shocked at Memphis, and I know that they're young and all that, but they really did a lot this season, and especially like on the defensive end. Like I've seen them beat. I'm trying to remember what team, but they didn't have John Morant, they didn't have Desmond Bain, they pretty much didn't have like their starting lineup except Jaren Jackson Jr. or something like, or maybe there was just one player from their starting lineup, and they beat a really good team. Like
Yeah,
I can't remember who it was. I think it was the Suns, if I can if I remember correctly now. So I do. I just to touch on that. Yes, I mean I agree that Phoenix, Golden State, they definitely should be up there. I think Golden State. I think Memphis. I wouldn't be surprised to be honest if Memphis made a run potentially somehow to the finals.
yeah,
But yeah, every other team completely surprised if they make it because I mean Dallas needs Doncic. So if Dallas has Doncic, then sure, I
yeah.
guess
Like
maybe
that's
you know.
like the one like little asterisk next to Doncic.
Yeah,
Like if he's in
exactly.
this, yeah, like that's the one thing. But right now he's definitely not playing game one. Who knows how fit he's going to come back? It's a calf injury if I'm not mistaken. So those,
Yeah, nah. I mean,
yeah,
it could end up being worse if he
yeah.
ends up aggravating. That's all. So who knows? Like I said, just huge loss. But if it just ends up being one game, then who knows? And it never ends up
I
hurting.
mean that,
It can end up hurting our whole bracket because
yeah.
we just picked the series just based off of Doncic being out one game.
Well, I mean that, but I mean that's a huge guy to miss. That's like he's probably the biggest star in the
Nah, he's the
series.
best. I say
Yeah,
best player on both teams,
yeah.
both teams. So yeah, nah, I hear you.
I mean, I look at I look at any playoff in any sport, and like, and you know this because I know you. I know you're into football. You're a basketball guy and all that.
Yeah,
So
for
the one
sure.
thing about any playoffs is that it's not about the team who's the number one seed or who has the best regular season. It's about the team that gets hot at the right moment.
Yeah, definitely.
So
Hmm.
we can make the. I think we make these picks based on what we saw in the regular season,
Hmm.
but there are these teams that can get hot, like like the Knicks. Like we mentioned the Knicks when they got to the NBA Finals, like
Yeah.
they got in as the eighth seed,
Hmm.
and then they just got hot at the right time.
Indeed.
Yeah,
I mean,
they
just to be fair, because I mean, I am a very, I mean, for those who know me, know that I'm probably the biggest Knicks fan that they probably know, right?
yeah
But to be fair, the Knicks had a good team, but also just like the Nets this year, in a sense, there were injuries that had them. Because I don't know if you remember, that was a lockout season when they did that.
yeah
That
yeah
was like the lockout season
Mhm.
when it was a shorter amount of games. I think it was like maybe like
yeah
50 games or something. And
yes
if I remember correctly, I'm pretty sure the Knicks had a sub 500 record at the eighth seed too. Like it was like a couple games under 500, right? But yes, getting hot at the right time, because what happened, I mean, besides beating the first seed, I think you pretty much knock out your best competition outright. But then after that, it's just pretty much being efficient at the right time or healthy. Even like you mentioned football, like let's not forget about the Giants. Like they got hot at the right time, knocked out Brady that one game. I mean, twice, but essentially that first time, I'll never forget it. Especially that Super Bowl, I'll never forget watching that Super Bowl. It just injuries in general, especially football. You getting injuries in the playoffs versus guys get healthy in the playoffs at the right time. Forget about it. So for Doncic to be out at the wrong time, just like how just like how Paul George was out at the wrong time, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
vital,
Well,
vital.
and that's something else that could play a factor. COVID.
Yeah, oh for sure,
If
man. I
one,
mean,
if one,
I'll
yeah,
be honest, I'm still surprised guys are getting positive tests right now.
yeah.
So, I'll be honest. Like, I mean, I was
Uh,
used to it since a couple of years ago, I guess, or like, up to like last year. But like now, I'm so surprised. Like when I saw
So,
Bam get one, and then Paul George was like, what?
so
Like, what's
I
going
mean,
on?
For Philly, you may want to keep James Harden out of those strip clubs.
Nah,
To be
yeah, for
honest,
real.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
he
Stay.
bad
He's very.
habit.
So
He has to get some composure with that, man.
yeah, but just so okay, we'll end on this. We mentioned the Knicks of '98 and '99.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they played 50 games.
Yep.
You want to take a guess what the record was?
Sure. I'll guess if they played 50 games and they were a sub, then I'm gonna guess they were 21 and 29.
Okay, so the Knicks actually were not under 500.
Oh
They
crap.
were they were 27 and 23.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I was wrong,
Yeah, yeah.
but well, they did better than I thought. I actually thought they were. Well, there you go. At least they were just at 500, but that's
Yeah.
still good, I guess.
So
Compared
they
to,
finished. They
yeah,
finished fourth in their division.
fourth in the division, but eighth
Yeah,
obviously overall
eighth overall. Yeah.
against
So
Miami. What was Miami's record that year? Since we're talking about it, since you pull it, do you have it or not?
Miami, Miami, they were in the same division.
Yeah,
Were they?
I think Miami and New York was in the same division at that time, but it's
Okay, let me pull
possible
that.
maybe. No, nah, Atlantic. It should have been the same. Well, who knows? I know that they made changes. That was in the mid-90s,
Yeah,
so
Miami was definitely the. Was that the Jeff Van Gundy series?
definitely, yeah. Jeff Van
That
Gundy
was.
was a coach. That was the when the fight broke out. PJ
Yeah,
Brown and
that was
Charlie
that's
Ward.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So Miami in 1998, the number one seed. They were 33 and 17.
Mm.
The number one seed in the East. Pat Riley was the coach.
Okay, so only 6 games up.
Yeah,
Interesting. Yeah, because it's a short series. But
yeah,
see, I guess that's how it makes it easier for them to upset. They were only six. Think about it. Miami's only 6 games better than the Knicks. I actually thought it was worse. So
yeah.
yeah. So but yeah,
So,
they weren't. I'm trying to think. I don't know if they were the only. They weren't. I don't think they were the only eighth seed to make it to the finals. Though I'm pretty
well,
sure there was one other.
I'm kind of curious now because I mean that must have been like a really tight Eastern Conference then. After
Yeah,
that,
no, it was tight. The Knicks had a really good team because the Knicks. Think about it. The Knicks had Larry Johnson when Larry Johnson was
yeah,
still good. Like at that time, Larry Johnson. That was a year Larry Johnson hit the 4-point play.
4 point. Oh my God, dude.
Yeah, that was a
I
year
have
that. Yeah,
I have a bobblehead of the 4 point play.
yeah, me too. I have it too.
Yeah,
I
I
still
have a
have it.
bobblehead.
I'm
Yeah,
the L. I have it. Yep.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
that's it forever in my etched in
So,
my brain and my memory. That's probably my greatest Nick
so
moment.
let
Yeah.
me pull up the because I'm curious now to see how.
The Knicks had a really good team because besides Patrick Ewing and Larry Johnson, we had Allen Houston, Latrell Sprewell, and we had solid point guards with Charlie Ward and Chris Childs. But then we also had Marcus Camby
Marcus
and
Camby, yeah.
yeah, Marcus Camby, young Marcus Camby. They got Marcus Camby from a trade like the year before, something like that. But there was a trade. It happened in the offseason. They got Marcus Camby. So Marcus Camby was the reason why the Knicks even propelled was because there was times where Patrick Ewing could not play in the playoffs. And Marcus Camby definitely held it down. Like while he wasn't, yeah, he was there was a trade where they traded Charles Oakley to Toronto for Marcus Camby. I remember now. So yeah.
Yeah, because he was
So
drafted by the Toronto
yeah,
Raptors. I
exactly.
remember,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So let me
I
give
have
you
it, a rookie card. Yep.
let me give you for the 98-99 season the records here.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
So you had Well, yeah, we'll end on this. So got to end with some Knicks, of course.
I'm with it. I'm with it. Thank
Yeah.
you. I appreciate that.
So no, so you had the top three teams in the East were Miami, Indiana, and Orlando. That's how they're one, two,
Mm,
three.
mhm.
All finished 33 and 17. Then you had the four seed Atlanta Hawks. They were 31 and 19. The Detroit Pistons. I think those were the those were the Grand Hill Pistons, if I'm not
Yes,
mistaken.
Grant Hill was on the Pistons then.
Yeah.
Still, yep. And
So
I
they
think Jerry Stackhouse might have been over there now then too.
yeah, he
Yeah.
might have been there.
So they
Yeah.
were both balling. Yeah.
So they were Detroit was number five at 29 and 21. The Sixers were the sixth seed. They were 28 and 22. And the Milwaukee Bucks were also 28 and 22 as a
Mm.
seventh seed. And the Knicks, of course, were the eighth seed at 27 and 23. Now, I mean, that's a tight Eastern Conference, only
Yeah, it
six
really
games
was.
separating the first. But the Knicks almost didn't make it because the number nine seed, the team that just missed the playoffs, the Charlotte Hornets,
Hmm.
were only 26 and 24. So they were a game back of the Knicks.
Ooh, yeah, no, that
So,
I remember. That's one thing. If anything, I remember. I was a young man, obviously at that time, but I was still
yeah.
very much a big Knicks fan.
Yeah.
Probably with without the knowledge that I have now, but at the same time, I knew. I think that's what made me or led me to believe that they were sub 500
Yeah.
because I knew that it was a. I knew that they were very much potentially not going to be able to make the playoffs like right before the playoffs started. Like I remember that potential, right? So
Yeah.
maybe that's why. But yeah, that's crazy. Like technically 6, 7, 7 games if you spread all the way from 1 to 9, right?
Yeah. The Knicks
That's
probably
a
don't. Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of crazy actually.
And that,
That's really deep.
those, if I remember, those Heat teams had guys like that was like Tim Hardaway
Oh,
and
that was such a good team. That was such a
Alonzo Mourning,
Tim Hardaway, Alonzo Mourning, Dan Marley.
Dan Wall. Yes.
They had
They had
I'm trying to
the
remember.
Dennis Scott. Dennis Scott was on that team, I think.
Nah, I think
The-
Dennis Scott was still in Orlando. Well, I could be wrong. I could be wrong though.
I
But
mean,
I'm trying to
yeah,
remember who else. Oh, they obviously they had PJ Brown because he got in a
yeah.
fight with them. I won't forget that. But I'm just trying to remember all the other Heat players. But yeah, Tim Hardaway. I used to hated Tim Hardaway. Hated him so much. I mean, he was a really good player, obviously, but with the whole Knicks thing, I hated him. And then yeah, Alonzo Mourning was also just a
Oh,
thorn in my
Alonzo.
side.
Yeah,
Yeah, like they were a really good team. I didn't see it as much as I upset, I guess, because I was just so bleeding so much blue and orange, so I
yeah,
just kind of saw it coming, or I felt that way. But I mean, think about it. If you really, like I said, if you really think about the Knicks roster full on, they had a pretty good roster, at least up until they went against the Twin Towers. Then who can stop them, right? Like that was the first year that the Spurs made it to the finals.
absolutely.
Yeah,
I
like you can't.
remember.
Yeah,
So I tell me if you'd be interested in hopping on this podcast. Actually,
yeah, sure.
so I wanted to hop on. I wanted to do a podcast about the demise of the Knicks franchise.
Oh hell yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I
So
would
I was
love to.
wondering. So if you would be interested, we can set that up later. So
Yeah. No,
maybe
I'm definitely interested. You got me, bro. We could definitely do it.
yeah.
Just let me know. We'll
All right. So
organize.
all right. So we have you locked in for two more podcasts. So if you want to hear some more of Robbie, you have to tune in here and his expert NBA opinions.
I
Um,
hope they are expert. We're gonna see. We're gonna see with this playoff one right now. This is my first crack at it.
all right. Well,
Yeah.
this was a lot of fun. I hope
Indeed.
you're making parlays on us and taking our taking your bets and making them because of what we said here. For those of you who are listening, So for myself, along with Robbie, had a lot of fun here today, and most importantly, we hope you enjoy the NBA playoffs this year.
Indeed. I really hope you guys all do too. And thank you again for having me, Prakash. Definitely look
All
forward
right,
to it. It's
all right,
definitely
no
gonna be a lot
problem,
of fun. This was already a ton of fun. Thanks a lot, man.
no problem. And all right, so we'll see you on the next podcast.
Indeed.